Hello and welcome to some episode of taking a look at movies too closely and going down dark rabbit holes that can never be climbed out of. But anyways, today we're taking a look at Inside Out.
We are on the outside looking in at Inside Out. Hi.
That's Frank.
Hey.
And that's Aiden.
Is that your thing?
He speaks in... He's one of those African people who speaks with clicking noises.
Yes.
That's not racist. That's just that's just legitimate. They're actually...
Some of them actually do, yeah.
Yeah, there are people actually who live in Africa who speak through clicking.
Alright, we're less than a minute in and we're already sidetracked.
We're already having a racist conversation.
We're almost being racist, but we're not, because we're not racist.
Anyways,
we're not.
Anyway, yeah.
Shut up, I'm a Jid.
So.
No, but it's actually
you have
a
the
Jew.
past, Frank, you have one.
Yeah, he's a Jew.
Okay, so...
Matt, you have an infinite past, Frank, I ain't granting you that.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay,
yeah.
so anyways...
Okay, then we're past, just note that.
We're talking about Inside Out. So, of course, we're here to ask the big question. Do each of the emotions have little emotions inside their heads?
How did you know what I was going to ask?
Okay,
I was going to ask that
actually,
question.
Because that's the question
I've actually had this
everybody
question
asks.
about this movie for a while. If you look at everybody else's emotions, they're always the same gender.
Yeah, that's...
And then you look at Riley's, there's two guys
So does that
and
mean
three girls.
you think she was trans?
That it actually could be implicative of that.
That was a theory that I heard. But,
That could be implicative.
I think...
Or non-binary, too.
Riley is a clone! But,
she's a homunculus.
So...
What would her homunculus tag be?
Lust.
No!
It's very...
Probably wrath.
One of the things...
I don't know.
Not greed.
One of the things that I found was very disturbing within Inside Out. And I'm going to start this off with something that's kind of disturbing, right? Riley's emotions were like what the emotion should look like were devoid of its person's traits.
Yeah, that's another thing that was mentioned a lot.
It was very strange how like each and every one was their own character, like their own, like what they would look like. Like I said,
they reflected what their emotion was.
Exactly, devoid of the actual human element. Where like when we looked at the dad's brain, it like they all had mustaches, they all had the shirt, they all acted in the same way as the dad.
Yes, and all of them did reflect their own emotions.
Right, but they
and one could take over.
Yeah, but they reflected the human element. Riley's in no way reflected the human element.
Yeah, like
it was just what it would look like.
All over the place. So she actually might have some really fucked up mental diseases.
Hold on, because like I'm dying apparently.
No, he's not.
So
she's fucking Diablo. What would Diabolos look like? Would there just be like two sets that'll just like raid each other every now and then?
That'd be weird, and that's who
Like,
determines whether Doppio or Diablo is at the front. They just have a big stand fight. Wait a minute.
Wait, what if like different emotions take over other ones?
Hold up. If a stand user has emotion people in his head, do each of them have the stand and like an emotional?
Wait, how would a stand work too? Like, how would a stand be in the Inside Out?
Do stands have
why were you
emotions?
even wondering this?
Do stands have emotions?
I mean,
some do.
Like, yeah, like...
So those would have...
The Sex Pistols are very vibrant. Those guys have emotions. Some of them...
Definitely Echoes.
Echo, yeah. Let's kill the whole...
We're 4 minutes in, and we're already going into JoJo's references.
Sorry, but we have to.
I know,
Hermit Purple is the most vibrant stand.
Even
I just like this cheap trick and
we could talk so much about JoJo and stand emotions.
We could actually probably talk about it at some point.
We could do a whole.
Dude, that would be like a 2-hour episode.
but in that stance, and that's like whatever.
Stand.
Is that a JoJo's reference?
All right, shut up.
All right, let's get on the JoJo references.
You've done too many JoJo references.
Normies.
I can't believe you.
I did. Oh my.
Sorry,
exactly.
Okay, but in that, whatever you want to call it, it would reflect each of us. So it would reflect what you look like and your personality inside.
So fat and sad.
And weeb, but for all
three. I don't look like anime characters.
I don't look like a weeb. I just am one.
Yeah, actually, we can look.
Yeah, we just.
Do I look like a weeb?
No, you look like a Jew.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Can we talk about how Riley was like had no human element in there? and how that's just incredibly strange.
But anyways, I wanted to say one more thing. Is actually the emotions were a lot more emotional in Riley than they were in like everyone else.
Well,
like,
I mean, to be fair, we didn't see a lot in everyone else.
Yeah, but
are there DOMs for different like people?
In the little we did see, we got a lot of information out of it. And like I said, it's been a while since I've watched this movie. But like, you know, like in the beginning when she had gotten home from school and you know, her
sad.
No, her like, you know, when it
come on,
like,
buddy, you got this.
I'm trying to. Okay, so like, first of all, when the mom tries to get Riley to talk about school, her emotions in her head almost are like, they're like uniform. They're like robots. Like, you know, like one of them's at the forefront, and you know, like I remember that one was like signal the husband. Like, you remember that one was like signal the husband. Like they're almost working like mission control more than just like, you know, emotions running around in their head.
Yeah, and now
because that's how Riley's were. They didn't seem really uniform or anything. Whereas the
until
other
the
ones,
end.
Yeah, they seemed a bit more at the end. But like, you know, the like you know, all of the other ones were very robotic and like. There's a word like
monotone.
It's autonomous. That's what I'm looking for. Like they didn't show any individual emotion or personality, but together they made up the person.
Are we? I want to ask something. So like, do you think there's dominant emotions within each person?
Yes,
there is.
So like within
like,
Riley,
for example, with Riley, like sadness was like the least dominant.
Yeah, like,
and probably the second most dominant was anger or disgust.
See, like, yeah, because, like...
For the majority of the movie, I mean, joy is their dominant emotion, whereas the mom's was probably joy, and the dad's was anger.
That's what it seemed like, yeah.
It seemed like it was a lot more anger, whereas, like, the teenage kid at the very end was definitely fear.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess,
that made sense, though.
I mean, it's probably actually dominant at different points in your life, just
yeah.
are.
So do you think
especially with, like, a teenage, like, boy like that, where we're kind of, like, all over the place at that age.
Hormone-wise, yeah.
You know, our bodies are going through very, very strange changes.
And we're always horny as fuck.
Hello, welcome to the hormonal teenager podcast.
But anyways...
Rated on 5 stars. 5 stars on iTunes by...
But anyway, so yeah, you know, Riley's were a lot more individual in their personality, which could sort of symbolize her trying to find out who she is. And that could also be why they don't have any, like, traits that reflect the appearance of the human and are even different genders, is because not necessarily because she is transgender or like gay or something, but like just her mind hasn't finalized into like who she is yet, and so it's still trying to figure that out.
That makes sense.
But
again, like same like with the boy, they all kind of look the same.
Yeah.
Didn't the pet?
Yeah, the pet also had one.
Didn't one of the pets have like the emotions in their head?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
They did.
Okay,
There's
so
a dog that did.
Single sentient being in that case has the emotions in their head.
Well,
and they can only be those 5 emotions. Joy, sadness, anger, disgust, and fear. It can only be those 5.
Well, see, that's the thing, because there are like a lot more emotions are a lot more complex than the 5 basic ones.
I mean, they did display that.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end when they showed like
with the combined memories.
Like when fear and disgust would come together, and then you know.
Oh, whoa.
Or
Can we
like
get some fear x disgust hentai up in here.
Like anger and sadness would be like, you know, maybe an ex. Like if an ex broke up with you, you'd be both angry and sad, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that makes sense. But like. So, you know, like,
But could there be a 6th emotion?
I mean, there could actually. I was actually thinking about that.
Stone.
The 6th sense.
I was thinking about that actually. That like they said, like after Riley was born, the first emotion that came out was joy. Then there's a couple others.
Sadness was immediately after.
Sadness and like more and more started coming out. So that actually there is like possibility of more coming out.
And the disgust, anger, and fear.
Mm. But there is a possibility of more like popping out, I guess.
But anyways,
but everyone has the 5 dominant emotions. It seems like nobody has a 6th. Do you think some people are exclusively like maybe less than 5? Because I mean, there are probably some people.
Emotions.
There are probably some people who aren't disgusted by anything.
Yeah,
and,
like different.
No,
yeah.
I don't like cum.
And if you find
that's such a weird. Like you're like.
I don't know why. It's probably because it reminds you of snot.
If you genuinely.
It's such a weird thing to like not be like to be disgusted by when you look at like friggin' like gore and shit like that. And you know what I'm trying to say. We can't put into words the mind of Aiden.
Oh yeah. My mind's really big fucked.
How would mental disorders?
Yeah. That's one thing that I was thinking. So I think like
schizophrenia, for example.
Okay, that's the inability to think rationally.
So do you think it would? No, I mean like not schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder.
Okay, so that's likely multiple sets of them existing.
Yeah, that's
trying to take over each other.
So in that case, it would probably be like at the creation of.
Or actually, that actually might be what Riley has, because like we said, all of them have different personalities.
I mean, maybe, but
she also had depression, but that's because Joy didn't exist.
And sadness wasn't there to help her either. But
but they didn't know what else to do.
But then you know how when Joy and Sadness leave, then all that's like the other 3 are panicking.
Yeah.
And it's like
actually fear took over.
How did they like?
Because Riley was scared.
Wait, I forgot.
So she was actually suffering from paranoia.
How did they even get out of there? How did they even get out of the brain thing?
Oh, I remember because when they were playing, when they had like the core memories, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What she tried to do, because one of the core memories that was put into Riley's core was purely sadness, and Joy was so obsessed with like making Riley's memories mostly or maybe only joyous that when a sadness one appeared, she immediately tried to throw it back up the suck hole.
Suck hole.
No, I mean those are the memories that like they have, and they're like, oh, we can get rid of this one. And then toss it up.
Also, sadness can make sad memories.
Yeah. It's like
make memories sad.
So she tried to throw a core memory up there, but she couldn't. So she kept pushing like up, and then sadness tried to stop her, and they both got sucked up, and then they landed, in the pit of like the archive of memories, and then there was the pit.
So So wait,
did Joy ever revive Bing Bong?
No, Bing Bong is gone.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like Bing Bong is a take her to the moon for me. Could not Joy have gone up and then just been like, boom,
memories?
You remember Bing Bong? Or is that impossible?
Because I think that's sort of like more of
because he was
Joy's.
gone.
I think that's sort of more of Joy's memory than something she can give to Riley. I mean, how old was Riley?
She could make like a new Bing Bong, but
not 14. She was in elementary or middle.
She was around like 6th grade.
12? 12 maybe? 13?
No, I'd guess probably 11.
Because like I said, it's been a while since I've seen it, but it almost seemed like Joy, like especially, I'm starting to think about it more too, like when you were saying how Joy was obsessed with making sure most of her memories, including her core memories, were like happy. So like that could almost be like, like she had depression or something, and her way of dealing with it, because she didn't know what was happening.
Actually, depression is more of an overuse of one emotion.
Think about this for a second. Imagine if Joy.
Yes.
Imagine if Joy hadn't been out of the pit.
What is the overuse of Joy?
She almost seems to like take obsessive control against all the other emotions, like, whereas in other people, like their all the emotions work together to form one. They are Katet, one from many.
Nate said, Aiden, can you swing by my house and drop off my charger? I left it at Matt's on your way home. I live in the same housing place.
Yeah, I think I was trying to Matt guy. All right, I think he knows where Nate's house is.
But continuing on, like, imagine for a moment if Joy hadn't gotten out of that chasm. Like, if she had been stuck in there with Bing Bong and then just didn't figure a way back. Sadness never would have come back. Fear, anger, and disgust would have ruled her life. What would that be then?
That's probably like hold on.
That is the absence of emotions. That would actually be probably paranoia.
Paranoia.
So, anyways,
Alright.
Paranoia or like the fear of like being afraid of everything.
What I was saying was like, what if like, Riley like was depressed and like her way of dealing it was just forcing joy on everything.
I don't think
and
so.
like
I
trying
don't think
to.
so. I mean, like literally sadness was completely
She
excluded.
was genuinely happy because joy was making her.
Yeah,
she was a little bit too
genuinely
happy.
Because
That's
like
the problem.
because the thing is like, what if
it's not necessarily? Actually, sorry, I don't think this is necessarily a mental disease, but it is more like an inhibiting buffer.
Yeah.
But hold on.
So like, if anything goes wrong in her life and there is no joy, everything will collapse because she doesn't know how to deal with that.
Right.
They don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah. So like, what I was saying was like, what if What was I fucking saying?
I don't know. I'm not in your phone. We think of your emotions.
Oh shit, dude. Okay, wait. Okay, so I got it. So maybe like while it seems like the emotions are controlling the person, what if it's actually like the person controlling their body through their emotions? So like, because joy was obsessively taking over every other emotion because Riley was forcing happiness into everything. And then, when sadness crept her way in and, like, touched that first memory, and Joy was like, you bitch, now she'll be sad every time she thinks about that.
That's what she didn't want, but that's what had to happen.
No, but that's like, that's sort of like, depression, like, creeping into, like, a moment in someone's life, because, sometimes you're, like, really happy, and then other times, like, just for no reason, you'll just feel like really sad, so that could sort of be like that is sadness just randomly coming in.
And one thing, like, I want to cut this off for 1 second. I want to bring up something you actually said at the beginning of this podcast. When you
really
said,
a podcast, but yeah,
well, it could be we can call it a podcast,
whatever.
but
Discussion, discourse.
That too, but do the emotions have smaller emotions? And I'm gonna start off by saying no.
Are they like layered?
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Then
you
get trapped in an infinite loop then, because you would say the emotions have emotions, and those emotions have emotions.
Actually,
and so
there is a reason that could be, and it's actually something Aiden said that gave me the idea. So when you mentioned paranoia, I was thinking like maybe you have the main emotion of fear. And then within fear are different types of fear. Like paranoia would be one of those, I guess.
Yeah. Paranoia, different phobias and all that.
So like maybe joy would be like happiness,
ecstasy after orgasm.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's more of an instinct.
Sadness would kind of be like.
Well, then which emotion would control instinct, or is that just like a part of the person that controls through the emotions?
Well, that's another thing, because they kind of control everything, the emotions. No, and in that case the emotions, like, they really run the show. Everything else works just fine, but it's because of the emotions actually working the brain that they're able to, everything else in the brain is able to work. And does that mean the brain is the only part of the body that's like that? Do you think maybe like the
each
heart?
individual cell has one?
Oh God!
I'm not saying like the heart has its own emotional.
It's only
station.
the brain, I would guess.
No, because the heart is just like
It's
the
just your
brain
heart.
is the central organ that controls pretty much everything. So no, the heart wouldn't.
It's kind of like all the emotions, like emotions can really like actually affect
our
your body.
personality and emotions are controlled by our
Like
brain,
when you
so
feel
yes,
like,
it would be in our brain.
Have you ever felt like sudden, like really bad fear, and your heart just kind of
Yes.
stops for a second? So in that case, do the emotions also control the rest of the body?
Yeah, because they control it through the brain.
Well, because it seemed a lot of the time, what was happening was they were kind of not knowing what to do, like especially when fear, anger, and disgust were taking over. They were frantically trying to do something good, but everything they did just made it worse, and it was like they didn't intend to do it. It wasn't like they were purposely saying, "Hey, let's fuck up Riley's life."
I think the reason why Riley got so goddamn screwed up is because she's losing both the positive and the negative.
She's
Hold
lost
on,
both her
losing
arcs.
her ability to remain neutral.
Let's see.
So she has nothing.
Here's another thought.
So that's why she was kind of.
By the way, all three of us have been awake for 24 hours straight. So like, if we're slow or we have a hard time like pronouncing something, do not in any way judge us.
Why does anybody give a shit?
Yeah. Anyways, what I was
Everybody
about to
gives
say.
a shit. That's not our problem.
What I was about to say was
It's not there.
so rather like I was saying earlier, what if instead of actually being controlled by the emotions, like that are rather than being actually controlled by the emotions that are like as if they were sentient beings separate from the actual person, because that would be like that would have like a concept of people not really having free will, and their lives are in the hands of
Tiny
people they
in
don't
their
even
head.
know they exist.
So wait, yeah. So that's another thing. Riley has no idea that these things exist in her head.
But see, what
would happen if she just became subconscious about it? Would that in itself be a paradox?
But see, hold on, because like
Like if she thought about her like emotions in her head, can the emotions project themselves? Because she just thinks like, what if there are tiny people in my head controlling my emotions, right? She has this great. Maybe she's on LSD or something. We don't know.
Just get you just get a text from the FBI. Don't fucking move.
Exactly. So she thinks about these things. They know that she's thinking about them. Do they? What do you think would happen then?
see, honestly, here's my idea: is that so before I say anything, obviously the movie is like symbolic in itself, since we don't actually have living emotions controlling our brains.
I know.
Or do we? But
Well, we
anyways,
would never know.
We've always had that thought.
But yeah, like, what I'm
I
trying
never
to
had
say
the thought.
is, what if every time they show the emotions, that in itself doesn't actually exist in the movie, and it's just symbolic? Like, in the universe of the movie, those don't actually exist. So, like, what I was saying earlier is that what if the person has their own, like, will that is then projected through the 5 emotions, so that even though the emotions seem like they have their own personalities, they're really just being controlled through the person's will. Whereas like, you know, when you see in like the older people how their emotions seem to work as one, that means their mind is more matured. They know exactly what they're doing, so they can control their emotions a lot better.
You just clicked something inside my head. It's a theory. Would you like to hear it?
That's what we're here for.
Well, I mean, obviously, but so my theory is like you said, the entire notion that are little people in our head and they control different things is completely made up, and it's made up by Riley. That she completely made up this, and that's how she explains her moods. That's how she explains what happens in her
That's
life.
just a theory. That's not necessarily what we're here for.
It's just a theory,
No,
and that's
theories
and
are
that's,
what we're here for.
exactly,
So
and that's
we're
the
here to
reason
explain
why.
plot holes.
That's the reason why Riley's emotions are without the human element, because they're the beta of all the other human emotions. So like when she looks at her parents, she looks at what maybe she's like, I wonder what their little people in their head are doing.
You know, actually,
You know,
that's fans said
they
it's kind of
don't
what
actually-
they said in the trailer.
Yeah, but they don't actually have them. It's just Riley imagining it.
That's an interesting thought, actually.
And like everything inside the brain and everything, it's just a brain. But she's imagining everything happening.
But was she able to see it, like, whenever, like, that kid got the weird alert thingy?
Well,
was she imagining that, or
I think
like,
she
is
was
that
100%
probably-
imagining that. I mean, she's at the age where boys, you know,
Stare at her chest.
no, not
Well,
stare at
she's
chest, but just
yet
kind of like
there.
freeze whenever there's a girl around. So she probably like thought, I wonder what they're doing in his head, like freaking out.
Beta males.
But then again, that also brings up because like and I know it's a bit of comedy, but it also kind of might destroy my theory for a second. Remember the sexy helicopter guy that the mom was thinking about? Do you remember that?
No.
When they were sitting at the table and instead of like engaging in what they were doing, they were instead trying to play the movie clip, which is one of the
like
of the really hot guy in the movie,
and like how the dad had like the hockey game.
Yeah, and the dad had the hockey game. So, do you think there's no way that you would have been able to know about the hot guy?
That
right?
is true.
There's no way Riley would have been able to know about it. So maybe the emotions are actually real.
That is a possibility.
Unless she's imagining it, and in that case, like, what the hell?
Why not just imagine everything?
I'm not gonna imagine everything. So, like, what do animals have for emotions?
They have a similar thing.
Probably more of probably more like instincts rather than emotions.
I mean, some animals definitely have emotions, like dogs, cats.
Yeah.
You know,
so I guess like basic
birds,
emotions.
if they were real. Kidding, they're not.
That does bring up a point. What would a robot one work as?
They wouldn't, because they don't have
like a true AI.
Then
it would just kind of be a robot.
In that case, it probably have its own emotions just like that, or at least would be symbolized like that if it was true AI.
Well, here's the thing: you can't do it because you'd have to program the brain, of what's in everyone else's head, right? You have to program that into the robot, and there's no way that anyone actually knows it exists.
That's true.
So if you ever gave a robot sentience, there's no way to be able to have that emotion thing in there.
But no, like, if we could create a truly, completely sentient being, it would probably just have that innately from existing in our universe.
Yeah.
God, that gets confusing.
Yeah, it gets confusing. Let's talk about a different aspect of Inside Out.
Alright.
I think one thing about the emotions instead of other emotions, which we tapped very lightly, I don't think that it's true. Because if that's true, then you can say that the emotions inside those emotions, that they have emotions, right?
Wow.
And you can keep just going down that rabbit hole for infinity.
Yes, you can though, because back to the idea of fear has its own kinds of fear, like paranoia, and like Aiden said, different phobias.
Anxiety, paranoia, anxiety.
Yeah, but then within
stress.
But still, you can't even define like anxiety just as there are different kinds of anxious feelings too. So then within anxiety, there would also be subdivisions of those.
Exactly, and subdivisions of those,
but eventually it would have to stop, where you have such an incredibly specific emotion that it can't be broken down more. So it would
take a really long time to break that down.
It would, but it would cease eventually. But honestly, I don't think even we could even comprehend such a perfectly specific emotion.
Exactly. There's no way that the brain can comprehend infinity, because nothing in our world.
Well, no, because it wouldn't be infinity, but it would
really, really long.
It would have to. There's also nothing in the world that's completely perfect. So it would have to be perfectly specific to stop breaking down.
So fear, it would break down to the point of fear of being anxious about math homework that's due tomorrow in this person's class at this time. It would have to be so incredibly specific.
Honestly, there's actually I'm pretty sure no even two maybe I guess if you look at enough moments, but no two moments of fear are exactly the same feeling. So yes, I guess you could subdivide infinitely.
Yeah, you could subdivide infinitely.
Because if you really want to get, because if you really want to, because if we're thinking about purely
if one of your subdivisions for joy was joy of sports, right? Mm-hmm. And you're broken down joy of football, joy of baseball, joy of hockey, joy of whatever, swim. And you went to football. Joy of offense, joy of defense, joy of this. And then it would keep going down until it's joy of defending this person on this specific play, blah, blah, blah. It would keep going down.
Yeah, until it was perfectly specific
which it can't be.
What would adrenaline fall in?
Adrenaline?
Probably
a combination of anger and fear.
No, not anger. It'd be... Basically, if fear was given steroids, and then if fear was given
that's triggered by fear. Adrenaline is triggered by fear.
No, because the the emotions have different buttons that they can push, right? That specifically atone to them. Fear, one of fears is adrenaline. Because when you get an adrenaline rush, it's because you're in extreme fear, not extreme anger. Like when you're running for your life, or when you're trapped.
Anger.
Well, yeah, like, so it could be within both, and then like, you know, that gets into with like the combined emotions within the combination.
What happens
Yeah,
whenever
but
you
not-
take
not
something that
those.
makes you happy?
What?
What happens if you take like something that makes you feel really good, like say you smoke weed?
Like drugs.
Yeah,
Actually,
you get like high
I
as fuck.
just got an interesting idea. So like, what if like when you do that? We're talking about that right now.
All right.
So like, what if rather than like
things that like
you know how like some
affect your
like
mental state.
spike endorphins or something. So like, what if that like increases a certain amount of like I don't know, like things within joy, and then like, you know, there's a whole bunch of them.
Or just kind of just makes sure like.
Or maybe they like, you know, there's a set amount of them, but maybe they like increase in output of energy, I guess. And then like afterwards, you know, they start to produce less because they were producing more on that high, and now they're producing less. So then you need more to get them back at that level, and that's how addiction starts and dependence.
I think
that's actually pretty good.
I think psychedelics are kind of randomized at that point, because for some people when they do weed, they probably get mad. For some people, they get really happy when they're on weed. Some people, they get really in their feeling. Some people like stress about everything. Some people find like I wouldn't say disgust would fall under weed, but marijuana. But
see,
I'm saying like I think it really depends on what kind of the dominant emotion of your brain would
that could be a good theory.
So
We will induce another emotion's energy.
yeah, so like if Riley's biggest and like dominant emotion is joy, then I feel like if she did a psychedelic, it would result in her gaining lots of joy from it.
But I mean, people who turn to drugs are usually people who are sad,
So, because like drugs are meant to induce a specific feeling. They don't like it's
I mean,
just
some drugs do bring out different emotions.
But like, you know, typically like just weed, for example, like weed is typically gonna.
I mean, it might make you stressed. It's different on all people, I guess.
Yeah, but largely it's gonna make you like calm.
It's gonna make you feel good.
Yeah, it's gonna make people largely feel the same way.
But also, it will kind of dehibit your emotions or like your ability to focus.
Yeah, so like, you know, maybe like joy would start running on overdrive, and then just start like, you know, it would start going out of control, and then like that's when you start getting buzzed. Then when you do enough of it, and she's gone even further beyond, and then
I like it.
it's uncontrollable, and that's when you really start tripping.
She's just like having like Kamehameha.
Dude, she got a Kamehameha the brain control.
All right, one more thing, because I gotta go soon. I want to wrap it up by saying, like, what do you think like LSD or like acid would do?
Oh,
Like
that just creates hallucinations.
Okay, so hallucination. So they
that would probably actually merge dream and awake.
and they reference dreams and nightmares and daydreams.
Yeah.
They did that pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Like how
typically like
how it's like
painkiller, morphine, like morphine, and all that.
kind of your
kind stuff.
memories, but it's also like a production, and it's how
Uh-huh.
like based on how the day went and stuff like that, and it's pretty cool. So to wrap this up, again, it's very complicated. It's the world of Inside Out is very strange.
Mm-hmm.
And we figured out what drugs would do. If the emotions have emotions, are they all made up? And if a robot got them, and more. But I can't think of anything else we did.
Mm-hmm. I guess like, you know, if we're taking the whole approach to where even within the movie, either Riley is just imagining those those like having emotions in their head, or if they even within the realm of the movie are
Wasn't there like
symbolic on
something
their
that
own.
contradicted that, or something like that? Like or that kind of like eliminated the possibility of it.
Whatever.
I don't know.
If we want to dig this up another time, we can always do a sequel to this.
Oh yeah,
I was thinking
this is definitely a deep topic to delve into.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening and putting up with really tired people talking
What
about
do you
really
mean?
deep
I'm not tired.
over analyzing Disney movies. Thank you for
It
watching.
shows.
Anybody want to do an outro?
Roll credits.